Chapter 6 Black and White Keys. It takes the black keys and the white keys both to make perfect harmony. Benny Goodman. Once upon a time in a small town, there was a young aspiring pianist named Melody. One cloudy morning, as Melody sat down at her piano, she noticed something very unusual. The black and the white keys were yelling at each other, both claiming to be the key to her success. The black keys argued that she should focus on mastering complex compositions, while the white keys argued that she should focus on the ease of basic melodies. Unsure of which path to take, Melody decided to seek advice from an old wise pianist, Mr. Harmony, who lived just outside of town. After hearing Melody's dilemma, Mr. Harmony laughed and invited her inside. His small cottage was filled with hundreds of instruments, some Melody had never seen before. "My dear Melody," he smiled, "I see you have finally heard your instrument speak, as every brilliant musician will at some point." Mr. Harmony began to play gracefully over the keys of a grand piano. "You see, Melody, as you play a beautiful harmony that embraces both black and white keys, it is the same for your personal growth. Embracing the complexities of life and intertwining them to reach harmony is the ultimate destination." He explained how the people who have made him stronger in life were the ones with opposing views, and how working through differences helped him gain a deeper understanding of himself and the world around him. With a smile, Mr. Harmony shared stories of his journey, filled with strong notes of unexpected improvisations. "One note does not determine the measure of a man or woman," he said. "It is their collective body of work and harmonious efforts to play their own melody when it is needed for the world to hear." As Mr. Harmony stared down at the keys, he went on to say, "If it be possible, we must live peaceably with one another, even amid conflict." He nodded, and his words lingered in the air like a piano chord. Pausing in awe, Melody returned home with a newfound sense of gratitude and appreciation for the complex harmony. As she walked, she noticed that the people she encountered appeared as keys on a piano, with notes above their heads, each contributing to the beautiful symphony of life. The older I get, the more understanding I am of people who see things differently. Many times my view does not change during this process, but I understand that due to diverse life experiences, our perspectives on matters could be worlds apart. Every time I open my ears without judgment, I learn something from someone with an opposing view if I listen long enough. Often, I listen and do not learn much more about their position, but I learn more about their life and why they were moved to take their chosen political stance. It has always appeared to me that life viewpoints often stem from childhood. Incidents from childhood form long-lasting emotional traits that often lead to the way we view the world around us. Right or wrong, we are all subject to this shaping influence. As we classify some individuals as seeing life in black and white and failing to recognize the gray, I would rather classify them as single-note individuals versus harmony individuals. Sometimes, there is no gray area in the world since much of our population has formed their views over decades of life experience. Although individuals who see black and white might refuse to compromise, there is still an opportunity to work together if we can respect our differences. However, there are also challenges to individuals who gravitate to the gray areas when the answer is apparently clear. Regardless of our opinion, eventually a decision must be made and lived with. How do vastly diverse viewpoints create a sense of harmony? by listening and understanding the why. To understand why someone views life from the angle they see it, we should first ask how they arrived at their position. Have they always had that position, or did they change over the course of time? What transpired in life that brought about this change? Are you open to and accepting other perspectives that are not like yours? Should you be respected for your viewpoint? Should people with viewpoints that differ from yours be respected also? First, ask yourself these questions before asking someone else. This will enable you to be less hypocritical and more self aware. After you are more self aware, you will ask these questions with a sense of compassion. No one is above self awareness. To facilitate collaboration and unity among diverse stakeholders, we must try to look at every community member as a piece of an orchestra, rather than viewing them as isolated keys on a piano. No matter which key they're in, we must recognize that each one plays a vital role in creating a symphony of progress. Although this can be difficult at times because of unwavering social and political ideologies, trying to include everyone in the bigger band will usually be much more helpful than being at odds with opposing sides of the stage. In order to do this, we must consider ourselves conductors. You will use your conductor's baton to bring multiple chords, keys, and instruments to play in a unique melody no one has ever heard. And with practice, you will achieve great harmony. Simple harmony can be achieved when there is little to no conflict, but great harmony is only achieved when great obstacles are overcome. Patience, dialogue, and focus on the bigger harmony are the framework needed to witness a successful orchestra. Once the orchestra feels comfortable bringing their individual ideas, they will blend like colors on an artist's canvas. Then, the music will transcend individual notes to become a symphony of unity and harmony. Let us strive not for uniformity, where we all think alike, but for unity and diversity. This is the true melody of life. Chapter 7: Healing Melodies. One good thing about music: when it hits, you feel no pain. Bob Marley. You don't have to be a statesman to speak with diplomacy, nor do you have to be the head of public relations to be gracious and sensitive to the viewpoints of others. Diplomatic, considerate, thoughtful, courteous, polite, sensitive, gracious, and gentle are the attributes we should embody when we play a composition on our political piano. Everything we disseminate has the opportunity to bring a blessing or a curse to our recipients and the people around us. With this in mind, it should never be our intent to deliver a message with a rude or inconsiderate tone. Notwithstanding our intentions, sometimes our colleagues will be offended. However, this should never occur because of our lack of regard for the sensitivity of others' viewpoints. Well-intended views should harmonize with consideration and grace. If necessary, when we discuss highly polarized topics, stating that our intentions are not to offend could be necessary, as well as stating both sides of the argument so your peers realize that you are sensitive to the complexity of the issue. Going the extra mile is imperative to reach a civil understanding of the bigger picture and the ultimate goal of creating a positive culture. This is essential for future opportunities for collaboration and partnerships. For example, imagine you are on a team implementing a new company policy. The views on the policy are split amongst the team members. Instead of only talking about the benefits of the policy, the team leader first acknowledges both perspectives in the room by stating, I would first like to say that I appreciate the willingness to discuss this policy in a civil manner. I understand that this policy is viewed differently by each of us, and I respect the opinions of you all. The ultimate goal is to be more efficient. However, everyone's concerns are appreciated as we intend to avoid any potential missteps. Use your own words, of course. After you have seriously considered the benefits of both sides, make sure you state the benefits of each side to your peers. Your sensitivity to the topic is the glue that will allow you to work together in the future, even if you don't agree in the present moment. Finally, state the challenges of each side and the reason for your ultimate decision. Although some will never be diplomatic because of the disagreement itself, many will appreciate that you have considered both sides of the matter and respect you moving forward. In life, agreeing to disagree is absolutely necessary since we will not agree even with our closest friends and family members on everything. Don't be dismayed by those who will hardly ever be respectful when they don't agree. I've witnessed die-hard supporters scrutinize every ounce of my human worth when I voted for the opposite of their opinion. I've witnessed colleagues manipulate social media with misinformation to control the narrative. These antics only widen the divide and create more opportunities for dysfunction. My personal opinion: social media is not a professional method for handling disputes. Although criticism in leadership is inevitable, it is imperative that leaders have a large capacity for empathy to understand and share the feelings of others. In a graceful response, we have the possibility of turning a potential negative experience into a growth opportunity. When you thank them for their feedback and consider their points, you display maturity. Even if the criticism is harsh or unfair, maintaining composure is vital and conveys a determination for continuous improvement. Leaders who embrace empathy have the ability to connect deeply with their team. This creates a foundation for trust and loyalty. When trust and loyalty exist, we have a higher probability of honest communication being conducted civilly. Boards and groups that can discuss sensitive topics civilly show a very high aptitude in the category of emotional intelligence. A few ideas to assist in this could be having patience in dialogue, encouraging constructive feedback, and handling criticism with grace. Try not to make personal remarks or to take comments personally. If comments are ever made personal, speak against the behavior and remind everyone of the topics we are here to address. With all the tools in the box, there will still be conflict. But like every pilot, you won't be reasonably judged by never facing turbulence. You will ultimately be assessed by how well you navigate through the storms with the proper training and tools in your arsenal. Resilience and adaptability are key to bouncing back from each storm while we learn to expect the unexpected. While conflict resolution skills will go a long way, maintaining a positive outlook is just as important for your morale and that of the team. Bold viewpoints that sometimes contradict are necessary for the bigger picture. There are 2 laws that I've established to help execute dialogue efficiently. Law number 1: each member of the team should be bold about what they believe, even when it contradicts the majority. If honest dialogue is not accepted within the group where it is constructive, it will be used by the opposition where it will be destructive. The second law is just as important as the first. Law number 2: each member of the team should respectfully maintain unity, regardless of disagreements, for the integrity of the structure. Unity is not agreeing just to keep peace. Unity is respectfully moving forward, regardless of any disagreement, to maintain stability and integrity. I believe in respecting one another. I believe in having integrity. I believe in forgiveness when we fall short. I believe in having humility. I believe that it takes courage and faith to implement all of these. The complexity of harmony involves people with opposing views who are on the same ship trying to get to the other side. It is not individuals on opposite boats playing battleship with bad intentions. In highly dysfunctional situations, perhaps a passenger on the boat might have to be quarantined. Still, even this passenger needs to eventually arrive at the destination, which is the overarching goal of the community. Chapter 8: The Blues of Social Media. Everything comes out in the blues: joy, pain, struggle. Wynton Marsalis. Remember the first time you logged into a social media account? Remember how it made you feel to connect with anyone in the world. Remember being amazed at how it allowed you to connect with friends that you haven't connected with since third grade because they moved away? Or to see an old girlfriend that you always wondered about? Whatever happened to your high school English teacher, who was your favorite instructor? Now you could find him with a few keystrokes. All of the positives of social media were obvious at first glance. And then we witnessed how the illusion of connection turned into shallow interactions. How quickly the joy of reconnection could change into endless arguing and fractured friendships. The year was 2020, and racial disparities were at an all-time high, according to my life experiences. Murders, injustice, riots, diverse viewpoints, religion, politics, and conspiracies were all being argued on social media by millions of people worldwide. Nothing was off limits. Nothing was sacred. And everything was being dissected under the unforgiving scrutiny of public opinion. In this digital arena, sanity was a rare commodity. During this time, many friends became enemies, while some enemies became friends. One of the few things we all had in common was the ability to exercise our God-given right to the freedom of speech in the First Amendment. In this era, the intersection of social media and real life revealed the true complexity of human emotion. In real life, it would be nearly impossible to share a random political viewpoint at any moment with a dozen other contributors while 800 people watched, liked, laughed, and shared. The stage of social media amplifies the immediate reach of our expressions and creates a dynamic arena where opinions clash in real time. This is the area in which we live. There are several challenges with having difficult discussions on social media as opposed to conversations in person. The absence of nonverbal cues, like tone of voice and body language, makes it easier to misinterpret messages, leading to conflicts. Dr. Albert Mehraimian conducted a study on this subject in the late 60s and discovered that 93% of communication is nonverbal. In this day and age, we are living proof. How often have we received a text from a friend or significant other experiencing fear or anger, only to realize later that we misread or completely misunderstood the intended message? These misunderstandings extend beyond text messages. They are connected to all of our digital interactions. Consider an email from a colleague containing constructive criticism, causing initial defensiveness, only to later realize it was good, well-intentioned advice. Or misinterpreting the tone of a comment on a social media post that can lead to unnecessary online conflicts that could have been avoided with a more accurate understanding. Even in professional settings, Misreading the intent behind a message from a supervisor can result in unnecessary stress and miscommunication. Our world is saturated with digital communication and a large potential for misinterpretation. Better online communication requires careful reading and a willingness to clarify and seek understanding before jumping to conclusions. Another large issue with intense social media discussions is the immediacy of online communication and the ability to post your thoughts at any point, 24/7, 365. I too have been guilty of hastily posting my thoughts without thorough contemplation, only to experience regret. And I've seen impulsive behavior on social media lead to impulsive responses, intensifying disagreements, and having long lasting effects. It's crucial to recognize the power and permanence of words on the digital stage. This stage offers a platform for expression but demands a higher responsibility. As we navigate this tour, it becomes imperative to balance the freedom of expression with the weight of possible consequences. Sometimes it appears that people only want to hear what they already believe. The rise of social media and biased news sources has contributed to the effect of individuals being surrounded by information that aligns with their pre existing beliefs, hindering open minded dialogue. My personal opinion: mixing every possible viewpoint on just a handful of social media platforms is like throwing a cat, a dog, and a goldfish into a tiny aquarium. Chaos, confusion, and probably a lot of bubbles. Just like the blues, everything comes out on social media too. Joy, hurt, and pain are all on the social media stage. Being on the digital stage is much like being on the blues stage. It provides us with an opportunity to express ourselves authentically or otherwise. The blues have roots in expressing life's struggles and triumphs, which parallels the multifaceted nature of social media. Nevertheless, we should acknowledge that along with this freedom comes great responsibility. Navigating the complexities of the online space with mindfulness and consideration is key, since the amplification intensifies the impact of words and actions. This is why leaders in the community have a considerable obligation to speak factually, respectfully, and with poise. However, even with these three characteristics, social media has a high likelihood of misinterpretation, argumentative pushback, and belligerent disagreements. It's like navigating through a minefield blindfolded. Even with the right intentions, explosions are inevitable. As we navigate the social media blues, balancing the freedom of expression with empathy and awareness becomes imperative. From the time I was an elected official, I've tried to stay away from topics on social media that can be deemed highly sensitive. These are topics that deserve a phone call or perhaps a conversation over a cup of coffee. If you question which topics you should stay away from, consider online arguments that are highly polarized and emotionally charged. Since we all usually have a personal relationship with these topics, it's very easy to strike a nerve, especially when the recipient doesn't have access to nonverbal signals. For example, take the hot button issue of gun control. Your viewpoint in 280 characters on wanting to hunt and protect your family could be deemed as reckless to someone whose family member was harmed in a shooting. On the other hand, another viewpoint on banning all weapons could be offensive to a law abiding citizen who might have been saved from an assault by having a legal firearm available. Like a blues song that can strike a chord deep within, social media interactions can have a lasting resonance, influencing relationships and shaping perceptions. Like blues music, online spaces let us turn our emotions into discussions, making the internet a stage for expressing feelings. And on that stage, there can be happiness and fulfillment. But there can also be hurt, pain, distrust, anger, and misinformation. And we all know bad news travels fast. While there will always be bad news blues, if life were a blues song, the verses might talk about scrolling blues and comment section pain, but the chorus of social media should be all about finding those bright moments and sharing them on our virtual stage, saving the deep discussions for a phone call, a cup of coffee, or perhaps the boardroom. Chapter 9. Life Between the Keys. There's got to be other notes someplace, in some dimension, between the cracks on the piano keys. Marvin Gaye. Amid complex melodies, major and minor chords, and sometimes colleagues who want to sing a completely different song, there's another world that over 99.9% of the population live in that will never know what it's like to be an elected official. It's a space so small that I refer to it as in between the keys. This space represents your personal life, the moments and relationships outside the demanding world of public service. Although it's large to some, it can be very small to others. If you fail to maintain the life or space between the keys, it will eventually become dusty and sticky, ultimately affecting your ability to play. What is small at first will eventually become the main event in your life if it's neglected. This is why we often witness successful and highly focused individuals struggle with family issues and marital problems and sometimes become disconnected from their kids. Why do we reach burnout, exhaustion, and mental fatigue? That passionate fire and love for the game of life now struggles to maintain its brilliance. Remember when you first went after your passion? You roared like a lion. You were ready for anything that would try to extinguish your flame. Sure, you neglected other areas of your life, but it was worth it because you were in love with your passion. The thing that wakes you up in the morning and tucks you in at night. The thing that drives you to make extra phone calls, schedule coffee dates, and commit to another project that you really don't have time for, but you've convinced yourself that somehow your project will be better off. Then, you start to look around at other areas of your life. You seem to be hitting home runs in one area and striking out in others. For some reason, your addiction to what was once so positive has sucked the energy out of your personal life. You're doing really well in some areas of your life, but not so great in others. Your strong focus on one thing that used to be good seems to be making everything else suffer. This reminds us of the saying, work-life balance or life-work balance. People argue about which is more important, but the key idea is finding balance between all aspects of your life. Some suggest the phrase should be stated as life-work balance, with an emphasis on life first. Regardless of which one you emphasize, the key word in the phrase is balance. Without balance, we end up losing sight of what really matters. Balance is what brings us joy, fulfillment, and meaning. Without balance, we risk burnout, stress, and a sense of emptiness. In finding balance, we truly find harmony and contentment. Balance helps us maintain our physical and mental health while managing the demands of our daily lives. Balance brings clarity, purpose, and fulfillment. If you're like me, you have tendencies to fixate on a goal and create tunnel vision. This tunnel vision in life has allowed me to excel with extreme focus when I set my eyes on a target. When I focus on something, it's all I think about, talk about, and dream about. The school board was one of the tasks in my life that attracted all my attention completely. My mind was drawn to it like a magnet. The details and nuances of being fully devoted to a task consumed my thoughts, fueling my passion and drive to excel. Every aspect of serving on the school board captivated me, from understanding educational policies to advocating for student welfare. But there was no opportunity for life as I knew it. I was hitting all the right notes and playing my heart out. However, my life was being lived in a small space that I refer to as in between the keys. I vastly neglected it. I often overlooked it. I almost always sacrificed my life for the greater good. Life for me has always been a choice to be happy, a choice to be sad, a choice to be upset, a choice to pursue a passion, a choice to make a bad decision, a choice to give in to an unhealthy temptation, a choice to wake up early, or perhaps a choice to choose a new career path. Amid these choices, I've realized that each choice has lasting, inevitable effects on my ultimate destination. Some of the choices were made by my cognitive brain. Some choices were driven by emotion. Some choices were made because I didn't make a choice at all, so one was chosen for me. The times where I've made the biggest impact were when I made a conscious choice after carefully considering the long-term effects and stuck with it. Among these, choosing not to neglect my personal life has proven to be crucial. Prioritizing personal well-being ensures balance and sustains the energy needed to pursue professional goals effectively. As I reflect on my journey, I've learned that each deliberate decision I make has to check several boxes to feed my long-term goal of family and spiritual fulfillment. This is how I make short-term and long-term decisions. First, I consider if the decision promotes personal growth and well-being and allows me to live my life with purpose. Second, I evaluate its impact on my relationships and connections with the people I love. Lastly, I calculate how the choice aligns with my values, principles, and overarching goals. I now use this template when I make decisions as complicated as a new career path or as simple as sleeping in the next day. In the end, I've realized that life's journey is shaped by the choices we make, whether big or small. Reflecting on each decision's impact, I've learned to prioritize personal growth, nurture meaningful relationships, and stay true to my values and aspirations. I've learned that you have to feed every major category of life and don't neglect the maintenance of your life instrument. Rest, relax, play with your kids, and while you're serving the community, don't forget to serve your family, your friends, and yourself. Chapter 10. What instrument are you? The human voice is the first and most neutral musical instrument. Klaus Schulze. April 6, 2021, I was elected to the St. Joseph School District Board of Education during the peak of COVID-19, masks, vaccines, and critical race theory debates. While I was wrapping my head around what I had gotten myself into, I quickly learned the distinct personalities of the 6 other board members I served with. I now refer to them as instrumentalities. It's a made-up word I use to define personalities and their correlation with musical instruments and harmony. Music genres can also be heavily relatable to personalities. I've used fictitious characters to highlight my experiences. Some of my characters might apply to multiple board members I've worked with. For example, Tina, the board president at the time, I associated with the tambourine. She was very upbeat, wore bright colors, and often voiced her opinion. Her voice stood out. Quite ironically, I associated her personality with the genre of 80s hip hop because she usually had a message and always wanted to fight for the cause, which happened to be public education. She was very well informed about past and current events. Don't get me wrong, sometimes I disagreed with her method, but I usually liked the beat of her drum overall because I believed her motives were good. John Brown, who was a medical doctor, was definitely a bass guitarist with deep resonant tones and a grounded, steady personality. His comments were always well thought out and delivered from a calm place. He often provided a rhythmic foundation that kept the meetings flowing. John was detail oriented, paying attention to the subtleties of timing and dynamics. He had a meticulous and focused personality. He might have been the unsung hero in our band. He brought a steady presence and commitment to the foundation that enhanced the overall sound. I associated his personality with slow jazz music. When things got crazy, the jazz music would kick on and calm the chaos. This was extremely helpful in many cases. In my 44 years of dealing with people, I've learned this. Vibrant personalities don't usually calm down other vibrant personalities. A calm approach is needed to achieve this goal. Next, we have Gertrude, who had been around local politics for quite a while. At this point in time, Gertrude was absolutely an electric guitar that would blaze her way to center stage for a solo. Sometimes it was on key and sometimes it was off key, but she loved to play loud heavy metal. Sometimes we question the intent of the guitar soloists with their aggressive guitar riffs and energetic rebellious personalities. They are typically bold and expressive and have a need to push musical boundaries in the boardroom. But they are also needed, particularly at times when you agree and need to highlight a positive attribute. Other times, it can simply be viewed as attention seeking. Often, I've witnessed the electric guitar soloist calm down a little with time. But again, this usually takes time, especially if the board member is still in their first year. I've witnessed board members go from heavy metal to jazz music with time and experience. Continuing with the instrumentalities, as they relate to board members, consider Barry. Much like pop music, Barry was always in tune with current trends. He seemed to have a knack for connecting with a broad audience. His positive energy and willingness to collaborate made him akin to the inclusivity often associated with pop music. Barry had the ability to speak his mind, but did not usually speak unless he had an opinion that was of a higher importance to him. You can use your associations if you see a correlation to the instrumentalities you serve with on any level of Congress, board, council, or even church committee. This will help you categorize your colleagues without being judgmental. For instance, individuals drawn to classical music are often seen as introspective and detail-oriented. Country music enthusiasts may be linked to traditional values, a connection to nature, and simpler aspects of life. Electronic dance music, EDM, fans can be energetic and adventurous. This provides an interesting lens to the diverse world of music and its connections to personality traits. Musical instruments can often reflect individual personalities. Those drawn to the powerful resonance of a grand piano may exhibit a refined and elegant nature, appreciating the classical or jazz genres that often feature this instrument prominently. Guitar enthusiasts, whether electric or acoustic, are often associated with a sense of creativity and versatility, as the guitar lends itself well to various musical styles from rock to folk. Drummers, with their rhythmic prowess, may showcase an energetic and dynamic personality drawn to genres like rock, pop, or jazz that heavily rely on percussion. Violinists or cellists often embody patience and precision, as mastering these string instruments require meticulous attention to detail. Brass instrument players, such as trumpeters or saxophonists, may exude confidence and extroversion, given the bold and expressive nature of these instruments. Woodwind players, like flutists or clarinetists, may demonstrate a gentle and nuanced approach to life, matching the subtle tones their instruments can produce. Of course, these connections between personalities and instruments are broad generalizations, and individual preferences and expressions within the instrument category can vary widely. Whatever instrument you are, make sure you use your instrument to complement the orchestra, remembering that the human voice is the first and most natural musical instrument. Klaus Schultze. Play it wisely. Let me be clear. In no way am I suggesting that a different viewpoint should not be voiced in order to fit into some sort of picture-perfect board or team. Nor am I suggesting that we will not ruffle any feathers with our opinions. When you have a question, ask it. When you see it differently, voice it. However, I strongly suggest that the more our views differ, the more we might consider presenting them with a calm demeanor. This baseline approach, pun intended, will help offset any potential harmony disruption or any perceived view from the public as being dysfunctional. Because even if you are in the right and arguing with someone who is loud and inaccurate, your tone of voice might be perceived as combative. This can be viewed as foolish from a distance. And from a distance, it's hard to tell who the fool is. In a world of political aggression, increased partition walls, and severed relationships, my only desire for this book is to inspire the reader to not necessarily alter their own views or the views of others unless it occurs naturally. My personal desire is to see the diversity of all mankind fight for the right to express their opinion on an equal platform, sharing respect, value, and dignity. Where conservatives and liberals, who might not ever change their opinion, still agree that the opposing view has a right to their opinion. The life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. encapsulated the true essence of passion without malice, intensity without venom, and expressed his views without being brazen or disrespectful. It's possible to separate the first from the second. And although we might not ever agree, we come to the conclusion that any attempt to force our views is a contradiction of democracy. Share your views, explain your views, and protest if need be. But do not shun anyone who exercises the same right you have, which is to choose their own view. Respect is quite easy when we all share the same theology. It only becomes challenging when our theology differs. Regardless of whether we agree with our neighbor or not, it should not determine the respect we have for them. The determined individuals who will consistently embrace compassion and respect despite what they receive have the ability to right-size our polarized union. If your views differ from mine, I urge you not to be quiet. Voice them. But I encourage you to find someone who also has a different viewpoint and urge them to do the same, respectfully. Listen attentively. Have a brief dialogue and tell them, without a rebuttal, I respect your opinion. If we all play the same note with the same instruments, we would never hear musical chords, bands, or orchestras. It is only through diversity that we have this, and that is the complexity of harmony. God bless.